Unfortunately, the way people live at work is shown on the left-hand side here, and because of the blocked information flows, there are a lot of surprises, problems that burst into the open and create a big surprise. But somebody down lower in the level of the organization, knew that this was there. Anyway, we react. We then make some sort of fix to that problem, usually some type of a Band-Aid, because we don't go through this process to understand the root cause. We just need to fix it and move on. And then we forget about it. So this is a play on words, the Deming cycle, play on words compared to the Deming cycle. And this is an unhealthy and unproductive way to run a business, is that for people to constantly be surprised that there's such and such a problem, that they, hurriedly react to it, to put a Band-Aid on it, and then forget about it and move on to something else. I think everybody knows that if you've been in business, even as little as 5 years, but especially if it's 10 or 15 years, you start to see the same problems over and over and over again. And so we're just living within this Deming cycle. And that's characteristic of what you find in batch and queue management, classical or conventional management, is this Deming cycle, because you have various things going on, such as the leadership behaviors that block information flows that contribute to all these surprises. And it's not a good way to live. It's unhealthy in terms of it's a stressful environment, and you go to work every day hoping to get a lot done, and you're always sidetracked by these surprises. Now the Deming cycle, on the other hand, is you're doing your work. There's a gap between what you had planned to do and what the actual outcome was. And so given that gap, you realize that there's a problem, and you say, okay, I recognize a problem has occurred here. Let me think of an idea that'll help eliminate that problem, so that idea then becomes my plan. Then let me implement that idea. Let me study it or understand what has occurred as a result of implementing that idea, and then make an adjustment if necessary to make an improvement to that idea. And you go around in this cycle. It seems very basic, but very few people understand it well and do it well. It takes quite a bit of practice to comprehend this. But the idea here is that the problems start to go away over time, and you're not always dealing with the same repetitive problems. You're actually making progress in your organization and understanding what's really driving the cause of these particular problems. And one thing to mention here is that continuous improvement in the method or in the mindset and methods of Toyota is an activity that occurs rapidly. This is something that is not highlighted well in the lean literature, but if you come across a problem, the first step, of course, is to recognize that the problem exists. In batch and queue world, you ignore it because you just say that's the way things are. We'll worry about it tomorrow, maybe. But in Toyota world and in lean world, you recognize the problem, step one. And then immediately, step two, think of ideas. Next thing you do, apply those ideas, see what happened, and so forth. So it is immediate response to the problem, as if the problem is like, you had a heart attack, it's an emergency. Immediate response, not a delayed response. Oh, I recognize this problem, we'll get to it tomorrow if I have time. Or, me and my team are busy this week, we'll get to it next week. And of course you won't, because you'll be busy with something else then. So you can think of it as kind of like a triage. It's immediate attention to the problem. And that's how you make a rapid progress in an organization to achieve substantial improvement in a short period of time. You might also realize that in the early to mid-1950s, Toyota was a nothing of an automobile manufacturer. And by 25 years later, they're on a global stage, exporting vehicles that have better quality than domestic vehicles and so forth. So how do you go from essentially, nobody to a somebody in 25 years? Well, this little Deming cycle and Kaizen, scientific method applied to management, applied to one's work if you're a non-manager as well, pays, pays off handsomely in terms of making progress.